Good evening. On behalf of Colonel James Valpiani, Commandant, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, welcome to Class 24 Bravo's graduation. I'm Major Taylor Van Tiger, Assistant Director of Operations, lovingly referred to as the class mom, and it is my honor tonight to serve as your MC. We have a memorable program for today as we graduate 33 students in Class 24 Bravo. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of our national anthem by Mr. Keith Piskoski, the invocation by Chaplain Francisco Gonzalez, and a moment of silence for our prisoners of war and missing in action.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
Beautiful rendition. Let us pray. Eternal source of wisdom and strength, Almighty and gracious God, we gather here on this momentous occasion to honor and celebrate the graduation of these exceptional men and women from Class 24 Bravo of our own very own Test Pilot School. We give thanks for the talent, dedication, and sacrifices of these brave men and women who have completed their training and are now prepared to serve our country and their countries. From up in the skies, we offer our deepest gratitude and are mindful of the discipline, intellect, and courage required to reach this moment. Today marks the culmination of tireless training, sleepless nights, and blood exploration in the face of uncertainty. Hallmarks of those who dare to test the edge of possibility. We ask your blessing upon these graduates. May their hands remain steady, their judgment sound, and their vision clear as they continue to serve the cause of innovation, excellence, and the defense of freedom. Strengthen their resolve in the skies above and in the decisions they make below. To the other heroes like their families that for some are across the world, their instructors, the teammates who stood beside them, thank you for their unwavering support and sacrifice. Their faith and commitment made this day possible. As these graduates take flight into new missions and challenges, may they carry with them humility in leadership, wisdom in command, and integrity in all they do. Grant us the courage always to pursue truth, the tenacity to learn from failure, and the honor to use our gift in service of others. And let us not forget to give thanks for this amazing meal provided, that it has already been blessed. It is in your most holy name that we pray. Amen. Mazel tov. Congratulations. Sig Haritiria. And keep the good vibes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piskoski and Chaplain Gonzalez. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. As you entered the dining area, you may have noticed a table up at the front by the stage. It is reserved to honor our missing comrades in arms. I would like to ask for a moment of silence as we remember our comrades. A table set for one, the empty place represents our missing from the United States military. This honor ceremony symbolizes that they are with us, here in spirit. Some here in this room were very young when they were sent into combat. However, all Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call to serve and served the cause of freedom in a special way. I would like to explain the meaning of the items on this special table. This table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to duty. The single red rose, displayed in a vase, reminds us of the life of each of the missing and their loved ones and friends of these Americans who keep the faith, awaiting answers. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, a symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share this evening's toast. The chair is empty. They are missing. Please charge your water glasses and stand as we raise them to honor America's POW, MIAs, and our unwavering efforts to account for them. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I would like now to recognize a few of our distinguished guests. Please hold your applause until they have been introduced. Major General Scott Kane, Commander, Air Force Test Center. Brigadier General Douglas Wickert, Commander, 412 Test Wing, and his wife, Miss Jody Wickert. Colonel James Hayes III, Deputy Commander, 412 Test Wing. Our host, Colonel James Valpiani, Commandant, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, and his wife, Mrs. Natalie Valpiani. Mr. David Van Hoy, Technical Director, Flight, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, and his wife, Miss Helida Van Hoy. Dr. Andrew Freeborn, Technical Director, Space, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, and his wife, Lieutenant Colonel Lynn Gowell, United States Air Force retired. Master Sergeant Theo Dinwiddie, Senior Enlisted Leader, United States Air Force Test Pilot School. Colonel Sasha Tomlinson, Commander, Space Delta 12. And our guest speaker, Colonel Gregory Johnson, United States Air Force retired. Please join me in welcoming our guests. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to the family members, commanders, and friends of Class 24 Bravo who are joining us today in person, as well as those watching this ceremony virtually. A special thank you to the people who organized this event, 24 Bravo's Graduation Committee, the TPS staff, Public Affairs, Multimedia, and Club Maroc for the delicious food.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and good vibes to all of you. It's a pleasure to welcome the friends and family, distinguished guests, and of course the graduates here to this momentous occasion. It has been a long time coming for Class 24 Bravo. I would like to reiterate thanks to all the people who made this event possible, and specifically our support staff, who I know have been shorthanded and very busy over the last few weeks. So thanks to everyone who has made this event possible. The beginning of our evening, we'll have a few distinguished individuals come up. We'll be welcoming our distinguished graduates and, of course, our guest speaker. But before we do that, I have the pleasure of announcing a new award that the school has established on behalf of the staff. And this award is designed to recognize a recent graduate from the Test Pilot School who best exemplifies our school's vision of forming testers, leaders, thinkers, and innovators in the mold of General Jimmy Doolittle, who was a former chief test pilot of the Army Air Corps, leader of the Doolittle Raid, and importantly for us, a graduate of the TPS's precursor, which was called the Air School of Application in the early 1920s. So many of you probably know a little bit about General Doolittle. He was a pioneering aviator who demonstrated the power of a tester's mindset when he led a team of modifying B-25s for takeoff from the deck of a Navy carrier in less than 4 months in wartime conditions. He was also a visionary leader who built high-performing teams from diverse stakeholders to push the bounds of technology. He was a critical thinker, able to adapt his test plans to the strategic and technological context of his day, and he was an innovator, perhaps most famously when he and a group of scientists, engineers, and philanthropists invented the artificial horizon, which made it possible to fly at night and in the weather safely. Our school aims to prepare graduates who, like General Doolittle, possess the full range of skills and attributes necessary to advance multi-domain capabilities for the warfighter. And so it's an honor to announce the inaugural recipient of this award, who is currently the Assistant Director of Operations for the 452nd Flight Test Squadron here at Edwards Air Force Base. As a tester, he expertly planned, executed, and analyzed data for a $13 billion classified program, a $28 million autonomy portfolio, and the groundbreaking field of collaborative combat aircraft. In terms of leadership, he transformed a number of failing programs into exemplary operations, correcting discrepancies overlooked for more than a decade. As a thinker, he redefined remote command and control test, advancing new frameworks, tackling range integration hurdles, and abandoning outdated policy. And finally, as an innovator, he trailblazed the autonomous combat platform space, linking artificial intelligence with air-powered tactics and procedures. So with all of that as a precursor, it's my pleasure to announce that the recipient of the inaugural Doolittle Test Leadership Award is Captain Gregory Bunker Search, Class 22 Bravo. Congratulations, Bunker. Come on up.
The Distinguished Alumnist Award is presented to a prior United States Air Force Test Pilot School graduate for their incredible contributions to the flight test community. This year's award winner is a graduate of Class 95 Alpha, the Spin Doctors. While attending TPS, his research focused on the investigation of roll-off reduction at high angle of attack due to mass and drag asymmetries. Over the course of the past 30 years, his expertise in stall and spin testing has been an irreplaceable asset within the missions of both the United States Air Force Test Pilot School and the 416th Flight Test Squadron. In 2001, he became the first Department of Defense civilian test pilot at Edwards Air Force Base. Since then, he has served as project pilot, safety and technical reviewer on numerous high angle of attack programs for the F-16, F-22, F-35, F-15, and T-7. In addition to his prolific career in high angle of attack programs, he has simultaneously taught stall, departure, and spin testing academics at TPS. This graduate has faithfully educated 1,175 test leaders in nearly 50 classes. Class 24 Bravo has chosen Mr. Roger Roscoe Tanner to receive the Distinguished Alumnus Award. Please join me in a round of applause. Roscoe, if you can come up, we got an award for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce our guest speaker, Colonel Gregory Johnson, United States Air Force retired. Colonel Gregory H. Johnson is a retired United States Air Force officer, aerospace engineer, and NASA astronaut. He is currently an F-16 and T-50 test pilot based at Lockheed Martin Aeronautics in Fort Worth, Texas. Johnson also serves as a board member and advisor for a few space startups and STEM nonprofits. Johnson started his career in the United States Air Force, flying over 50 different aircraft, accumulating over 5,000 hours, including about 60 F-15E combat missions in the Persian Gulf. In 1998, he joined the NASA Astronaut Corps and ultimately piloted 2 space shuttle missions, STS-123 and STS-134. After leaving NASA, he served as executive director for the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space, a nonprofit commissioned to maximize utilization of the International Space Station to benefit life here on the Earth. Most recently, he served as a crew integration engineer for the Human Landing System Ascent Element and other business development at Lockheed Martin Space. Johnson is a member of the Association of Space Explorers, Associate Fellow of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots, Associate Fellow of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and is an honorary Rotarian. He is a Bachelor of Science in Aeronautical Engineering from the United States Air Force Academy, a Master of Science in Flight Structures Engineering from Columbia University, and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Texas at Austin. During his education at the United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Class of '94 Alpha, he was recognized as both a distinguished graduate and a recipient of the Onizuka Prop Wash Award for Spirit and Morale. Colonel Johnson, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you. Sounded like I couldn't keep a job, but that was a nice introduction. So I'm going to keep my comments brief, but I want to add a little fun and levity to this group because I understand this class has a lot of personality. I'm not necessarily going to give you beautiful pearls of wisdom. I started off, okay, so I was flying an F-16 here just a couple months ago, dropping off a jet, 2.5-hour flight, took off out of Fort Worth and by myself, and I was thinking about what I could bring to this graduation talk that would have any use at all. I started thinking, oh, it's going to be like lessons from Box, and then maybe, nuggets. Well, I came on reflections, so what I'm going to share with you tonight is not a scripted talk, but actually just reflections on things that you already know. So congratulations to the graduates. I just love it here at Edwards Air Force Base. It was so fun arriving a couple months ago. They said, as soon as I hit Daggett, they said, hey, your call sign is now Skull. And then Joshua proceeded to tell me all about how you enter initial with offset and all this stuff. I talked to Eddie Tower, and I just almost said, Eddie Tower, Skull 2-1, East Lakeshore for Tower Flyby. Okay, that was a joke. The Tower Flyby line is a really cool thing about being a test pilot. We don't really have to do it anymore because we have fancy technology. But in any case, I didn't go to the Tower Flyby line. Like a good soldier, I went to initial, I pitched, and I landed. So in any case, I'm very excited to be here. I'm very proud of the graduates. I've gotten to know a few of you tonight and several of you in the last couple days. And with that, I better get going. So I was in the class 94 Alpha. It was 30 years ago. We were the crash test dummies that went over like a lead balloon with Jimmy Doolittle, who was our commandant, Jimmy Doolittle III, who was the commandant at the time. And we had some crazy Latin on there, but just not unlike what you'll see on the Vibes patch. I don't think vibes is a very good word. I'm going to personify it to be vibers. So the vibers, I understand, had a lot of spirit. I don't know how you got vibes, if it was good vibes, bad vibes, smooth vibes, I don't know. But in any case, lots of spirit, and that's good. You've worked hard together, you've played hard together, you've fought, you've loved, you've bucked the system. That's pretty much like every test pilot class for the last 81 years. By the way, I'm surprised that USAF Test Pilot School actually is called that, because it was founded before the Air Force even became a separate service. But now we have the Space Force, and of course, my disclaimer, there's space test graduates here tonight. And so, Colonel Tomlinson, we're sitting next to each other. I told her I'm going to reference her for a disclaimer that I can talk about airplanes. I can't talk about unmanned space vehicles. So whenever you hear aircraft, you can substitute spacecraft, and then it applies to you. But I'm proud of everyone across the board. Congratulations. So this is what a test pilot class looks like 30 years later. Each one of you are just starting, but these guys were members of my class. And my first reflection is, this is your group. This is a group that you're going to be networked with for many, many years to come. In my case, 31 years. And each of these people were pretty successful. I'm going to call out a few of them. It's kind of a washed out photo, but I know where they are. So, of course, on the left, we've got Mike Good. He went to the Hubble Space Telescope. We have, let's see, they're hard to see here. Al Norman, he's my boss's boss's boss. I work for Lockheed Martin. The network is strong, okay? There's a guy, he had more hair at the time. That's David Van Hoy, Mr. David Van Hoy, your technical director, okay? We have another astronaut, Zambo. He was really our foreign officer. He was a Marine. We did not have a diverse class. We had all white guys and one Marine, if you can believe that. Okay, real quickly, Ringo, you might know him. He's runs the flight test out at Armstrong. He's done it for years. Trigger, he was the F-22, F-35 guy, just left, and he had his Finney flight just a few weeks ago. And this guy, Swifty, was a flight test engineer who landed the only F-16 in history from the back seat when the front seater ripped the stick off. So I think it's a pretty successful bunch. That's my group. You have your group too. I came in yesterday and Fangs gave me a lecture about the things I need to talk about tonight. Thinker, innovation, all these things. So I'm going to start with each one of them. I'm going to take them one at a time. Actually not. But what you don't see there is warfighter. What you don't see there is tactician. What you don't see there is airplane or spacecraft operator. And there's a reason for that. The reason is you've already achieved that in your prior lives. Now you've been brought together to take it to the next level. And so what's happened is actually what needs to happen to take you to be the leaders of test, space test, and flight test in the future. I know you feel lobotomized. We did too. But this patch, the good colonel, wore that patch all week long on his flight suit. I hope you noticed that. So again, congratulations for your spirit. And remember, this group, you should stick together because you've been in the foxhole for a year, and for me, 30 years later, I phoned a friend and started working for Lockheed. I'll just stop there. Okay, so I was an Air Force brat, grew up in Germany. That's me right there. A little less of me, so I guess maybe my reflection for this is don't get fat. That's why I'm not wearing my mess dress. I'm just kidding you. Actually, I can pull 9 Gs better now than I could when I was skinny. So, but yeah, that was me 20 years ago at Lubbock, Texas. I started off in the T-38. I was good enough to be a fighter pilot, but not good enough to get out of there, so they kept me for 3 years in Lubbock, Texas. But served me well because I was able to get into this aircraft that had just come out. Brand spanking new F-15Es, first B course. And again, a fighter pilot's dream to get to go to war. Actually, my first non-grade sheet ride was the flight over. I just MR, went to war. So I came back thinking I knew a lot about flying. And that's how I got into test pilot school. So after getting here, again, I did good enough maybe to be a DG, but not good enough to go to Eglin and shoot missiles. So they kept me here at Edwards to test Eagles. But I would say being here at Edwards was some of the best flying of my career. We were problem solvers. We flew the F-15 A, B, C, D, E, S, I, J. And it was amazing. It was amazing 3 years. We did tail slide investigations, spin testing, and we did this test, which was really fun, the active jet, fly-by-wire version of an F-15 with a F-18 canards on the front. Coin flip, Box was the only Strike Eagle guy that has a Strike Eagle cockpit. That's how I got to fly this jet, but it was a lot of fun. I would say on that test program, the control team was huge, and I'd say that the reason I got an AB burn through going supersonic, and the test conductor goes, "Why do you declare an emergency?" That was expected. So the test team had the answer to my AB burn through. I didn't even know what was going on, but the point is the test team has lots of information, and as you testers go out there, remember, you might be expected to be one of the smart ones in the room, but there's a lot of other smart people behind you. And that was my way to NASA, which again, I felt pretty fortunate because this was a joint NASA program. And then a couple space flights, which are just test flights, right? All the same principles you learned here in test pilot school. We applied on the shuttle mission, so I'm not going to talk about those. But lo and behold, I phone a friend who was a TPS classmate. I wasn't going to be able to fly the Lockheed spacecraft, so I said, "Hey, don't we have airplanes at Lockheed Martin?" And sure enough, we do. You have any open cockpits? I was hoping for an F-35 or maybe an F-22. They said, "Sorry, Box, we got an F-16. I said, "Really? I get to go fly an F-16? So we moved north, and I've been flying F-16s the last 3 years. We didn't have Roscoe Tanner on our staff, and a lot of the testing that we do at Lockheed is not foreign military sales. It's like direct to the commercial customer. So we had to test out flight control computers, hardware, software, pretty much every system on the jet. I'd say it was innovators that we had to be to test the Block 50, the Block 60, Block 70 customers all over the world. We're still building F-16 Block 70s. And again, the most proliferated fighter aircraft in the world. So again, the Box reflections are the team that you're on, remember them and network them, maybe some innovation, including your team in solution solving, and remembering that you're going to be expected to be the leaders, and that's why it's one of the pillars on your coin, which I think you owe me a coin still. I got one from AB, but I didn't get one from you. Okay. All right, I've got a short video of one of the tests that we had. It was a lot of fun. Oops. It was an auto GCAS test. I was going to talk a little bit more about it, but auto GCAS is the automatic ground collision avoidance system. Doesn't look like the video's trying to run. Okay, Julia. Maybe we'll go back and then forward. There we go. Okay, so I had a 67-year-old in my back seat, and this is just a couple months ago. We were doing this auto GCAS test. What it's supposed to do is save your life if you lose consciousness. And so again, the jet recovered on its own like it was supposed to. It wasn't supposed to pull 8 Gs. So the audio is down because I don't want you to hear two 60-year-olds grunting in the back. But being a contractor test pilot is a pretty good gig. So when you get rid of, we get done with the military, it's time to move on. There are some jobs out there, even with Boeing and Northrop Grumman, to do flight tests. Okay, I'll move on. Here we go. So now my next gig is the T-50, which is going to probably sunset me from Lockheed. It's a really cool jet. Probably should have replaced the T-38. I'm just kidding. And then the FA-50PL, which is a lightweight fighter version of the T-50, which we'll be testing here this fall. So this jet may have AIM-9s incorporated into it. I understand there might be a couple spare AIM-9s hanging here at the test center. Is that true? So if you guys want to give us some AIM-9 missiles, we probably could use them for that test. Final box reflection, family. My wife, Carrie, she couldn't make the trip. She's taking care of her mom today. But we had a great time out here. My son in the middle here was born at Edwards Air Force Base during test pilot school. Now he's 30 years old, and he has our only granddaughter, who just turned 1. So family's really important part. You have exciting careers ahead of you. I looked at all the different places you're going. It's exciting, but don't forget about mama and the kids, because they're the thing that you have left after retirement. And so Carrie and I are still having fun. She moved a lot to Fort Worth, so good on her. And with that, that's my get off the stage slide. Congratulations, graduates. Godspeed and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With gratitude, the class would like to present you with this gift.
Here, let me get rid of these. Thank you. Recognize that patch? Thank you. Can I leave this up here?
The graduating class consists of 12 experimental test pilots, 9 flight test engineers, 1 experimental test combat systems officer, 1 experimental test air battle manager, 1 experimental test remotely piloted aircraft pilot, and 9 experimental test engineers from varied backgrounds, including space operators, engineers, and maintenance. Included among our graduates are the finest from the United States Air Force, United States Navy, the United States Space Force, the Hellenic Air Force, and the Israeli Air Force. These students have completed one of the most demanding courses in the world. Each student completed over 2,500 hours of academics and either 120 hours of flight training or 91 hours of space operations training. Each student had 6 hours per day of instructor contact time, not including academic, flight, and space ops preparation time. As a final graduation exercise, the students demonstrated learning from across the curriculum by planning and executing real-world test management projects. Students, please stand as your test management project, also known as the TMP, is presented. Class 24 Bravo's projects included the following. They have Hot Sauce Classified TMP. It is the first joint multi-domain test management project in TPS history. This TMP focused on the novel integration of Space Force and Air Force technology to develop combat capability. Their work will ensure the warfighter has options across both the air and space domains when it is time to fight. Team members included Captain Connor Beerley, Captain Matthew Claffey, Captain Cameron Greer, Captain Joshua Lewis, Mr. Brian Mann, Major Chet Miller, Captain Connor Paw, And last but not least, Captain Maximiliano Salinas. The Have Magic TMP demonstrated the effect of various aircraft maneuvers on a simulated critically wounded patient in support of the development of MIT's G-Adjusted Compensatory Reserve Index, GCRI. This test was completed using a C-12J modified with a lower body negative pressure device to simulate blood loss in a human subject, while various sensors measured continuous subject waveform data during various aircraft maneuvers. The development of this data set is crucial to improving the medical community's understanding of the aerospace environment on patients in a hemorrhagic condition. Team members included Captain Ernest McQuaid, Captain Aaron Runnels, Captain Jacob Gill, Captain Dimitrios Vlakos, Captain Bradley Radaball, and Captain Derek Vincent. The Have Mirage TMP demonstrated the application of a project-based reduced order model, or a PROM, to accelerate the efficiency of flying qualities and envelope expansion flight testing through accurate prediction of forces and moments acting on a Block 40 F-16D. This partnership with the United States Air Force Academy, Department of Aeronautics, the Fox Project, and CMSoft supported the second stages of the Pointless Project using arbitrary flight test data to solve for a digital twin of an air vehicle, thereby eliminating test points, data bands, and tolerances. Team members included Mr. Keith Piskoski, Captain Jeremy Ellsworth, Captain Grayson Harbor, Major Caleb Whitlock, Major Tyson Rideout, Captain Michael Crump, and Lieutenant Christopher Hamilton. The Have Rooster TMP developed and tested semi-novel test techniques for characterizing the antenna performance and demonstrating fuel burn performance through a new center of gravity estimation technique of an on-orbit satellite. This testing was completed with the LDPE-3A spacecraft operated by SSC/SZIX and with the help of DAF Red Team and MIT Lincoln Lab test support. The campaign made great strides in proving out these new space test techniques to help the Space Force characterize satellite bus systems and capabilities, and provided many lessons learned to SSC about systems operations and limitations. Team members included First Lieutenant Benjamin Ho, Major Brian Erickson, Mr. Lucas McClellan, Captain Aaron Damon, Captain Brendan Rucklin, and Staff Sergeant James Mejia. The Tacit Murder TMP demonstrated the integration and performance of the Persistent Systems MPU-5 data link radio on the F-16 and C-12. The MPU-5 and an IP-based RF data link with MeshNet capabilities that provides a low-cost proven capability to transfer data, messages, voice, and cat memes to other MPU-5 users. The F-16 and C-12 were modified with the MPU-5 and external antennas, while a high-gain antenna was installed on the roof of TPS, providing communications to the control room. The test demonstrated a reliable and easy-to-use data link that is compatible with any computer or device that uses IP-based communications, paving the way for TPS modernization and rapid aircraft upgrades. Team members included Major Austin Crockett, Major Theodore Adams, Major Jesse Snook, Major Leah Dover, Major Charles Wilson, and Captain Matthew Rafrana.
Okay, before we move on to announce the student awards, it's fitting that we recognize a group of outstanding professionals who are directly responsible for the teaching and training of these new graduates. So would all members of the TPS faculty and staff, including attached personnel, both past and present, please stand and be recognized. Okay, it is now time to recognize the top individual student performers. Through a combination of graded operational events, academic exams, and reports, as well as ratings from classmates and instructors, a few individuals are honored for their unique success and contributions to TPS and the graduating class. Each of these recipients will receive a personal plaque and have their name inscribed on a trophy displayed at the school. As your name is called, please join me on stage to receive your award. So our first award is the Aaron C. George Warrior Award, which recognizes the student who most exemplified the warrior-focused attitude to field the best weapon systems possible. This award is voted on by members of each class and presented to the student who always remembered the reason why we are here, the warfighter. The award is named in honor of Major Aaron C. George, Class 99 Bravo, who was lost while flying an F-16 photo chase mission with the 416th Flight Test Squadron. TPS Class 99 Bravo has set up a permanent display at TPS, a Mark 82 500-pound bomb engraved with the names of the award recipients. The recipient of the Aaron C. George Warrior Award is Captain Connor Spock Borelli. Congratulations, Spock. Our second award, the Ellison Onizuka Prop Wash Award, is given to the one person who contributed the most to class spirit and morale. Captain Onizuka won the award for TPS Class 74 Bravo, and it was subsequently renamed in his memory after he was lost in the Space Shuttle Challenger tragedy. The recipient of the Onizuka Prop Wash Award is Captain Matthew Mouth Rufano. Congratulations, Mouth. Our third award, the Raymond L. Jones Award, is presented to the most outstanding flight test engineer, combat system officer, or air battle manager graduate. The award is named for Colonel Raymond L. Jones, a former staff instructor and deputy commandant of the Test Pilot School, who was instrumental in the formulation of the flight test engineering program. The recipient of the Raymond L. Jones Award is Captain Michael Spades Crump. Congratulations, Spades. Our fourth award, the Doolittle Award, recognizes the class's most outstanding test pilot graduate. The award is named after Major Frank Lethan, TPS Class 61 Charlie, who was lost in 1966 while flying with the Thunderbirds, and Major David Tittle, TPS Class 55 Delta, who was lost in 1966 while testing the XV-5 vertical takeoff and landing aircraft at Edwards. The recipient of the Doolittle Award is Major Charles Pinch Wilson. Congratulations, Pinch. Our fifth award, the Bernard A. Schriever Award, is presented to the most outstanding Space Test Course graduate. The award is named for General Bernard Schriever, one of the early test pilots at Wright Field, whose leadership of the Manned Orbital Laboratory Project, direct interaction with ARPS under then Commandant General Yeager, and the command to select military astronauts, and his innovative leadership in developing space and missile capabilities were foundational to the creation of the Space Force and the development of its test cadre. The recipient of the Bernard A. Schriever Award is Captain Brandon Skid Ruchlin. Congratulations, Skid. Our final recognition is given for individual distinction. The students of Class 24 Bravo have worked extremely hard during the past year, with 6 students earning the title of Distinguished Graduate. When your name is called, please stand to be recognized. The distinguished graduates of Class 24 Bravo are Captain Connor Spock Barilli, Captain Michael Spades Crump, Lieutenant Christopher Flops Hamilton, Mr. Brian Slender Mann, Captain Brendan Skid Ruchlin, and Major Charles Pinch Wilson. Congratulations. Please have a seat. It is now time to bring Major Jess Snook back to the podium to provide the class leader address. The class leader job is assigned to the senior ranking officer, unless you're animal, which you get out of it because you're a mister. And it is a job that has more responsibility than authority, as the class leader is responsible for leading from within and passing information between the class and TPS leadership. Snooki had the privilege of doing all of this while simultaneously being a student along with all of his classmates. I had the privilege of meeting with Snooki on a regular basis over the last year, and he never failed to display the kind of leadership and professionalism that we expect of our flight and space test leaders. Snooki, thank you for all the hard work as class leader. The floor is yours.
Good evening. I'm here to talk on behalf of Class 24 Bravo. First and foremost, I'm proud to say that all 33 of us that began the year will walk across the stage tonight. As is tradition at TPS, we were a class of firsts. We were the first truly integrated space and flight course at TPS. We were the first junior class to get our senior class blamed for our anonymous questions at the SETP conference. We were the first class to be scolded by staff for bringing beer to a Friday afternoon case study, even though we had staff approval. We were the first class to spend 2 weeks at Stanford learning about artificial intelligence, and then the first class to come back and still be doing performance practical exams in March. But through it all, we stuck together and everyone made it through. Now, as is also tradition, I'll tell you a little bit about everyone in the class. And there's 33 of us, so buckle up. Abe, over there at table 11 next to me, so you can stare at him, was one of the 3 F-16 pilots in our class, but he has the kind of easygoing demeanor more typical of a heavy pilot. However, that demeanor would get a lot less easygoing if anyone, which was usually the 5th gen guys, said anything defamatory about what he called the Lord's jet. Pinch, who won all the awards, was my favorite pilot, not for the awards, but because as a fellow C2ISR guy, he didn't delight in making me sick on crew solo flights. Even when times were tough, he would remind the class that we were getting paid to fly airplanes. Spock, also got an award, was an F-16 pilot with a PhD from Stanford, although he didn't like to advertise it. In class, he would often ask questions, not because he didn't understand the material, but because he knew someone else didn't understand the material, but was too afraid to sound stupid and ask the question. And when that still didn't work, he would just reteach a dumbed-down version of the class for the rest of us. Liad is our Israeli exchange student and is secretly a genius. He found the Edwards test bureaucracy more difficult to understand than the TPS curriculum. His favorite memory, in my estimation, of TPS will be the minor league baseball game in Tulsa that I forced him to watch on the capstone trip. His least favorite memory will probably be how he felt the next morning after eating the nachos. Django was our Greek exchange student and another F-16 pilot. He's also a genius, but had difficulty understanding why Americans don't know how to relax. He was usually the first one to finish a project, which demonstrated to the rest of us how procrastination is not the same as relaxation. Gopher, it's over there somewhere. He's an F-22 pilot who was also the class mayor and did a great job exposing the class to the Air Force fighter pilot culture. He excelled at pushing right up to the line without crossing it, except of course for the 11 times he did cross the line and required mentoring. Ape is our other F-22 pilot, who's basically the opposite of Gopher. He was far more interested in his young family than he was in any kind of TPS shenanigans, yet he still passed the course with flying colors. Roch was previously an F-35 pilot and was quick to make sure everyone knew it, mostly because he wanted to hide the fact that he was, before that, an FTE. Unfortunately for him, he did not succeed, and he will graduate today as both a test pilot and an honorary FTE. Spades was an engineer who was previously a TPS staff member. He made sure the class had all the swag and fulfilled all of our traditional TPS obligations. More importantly, he always had a world-class mustache and a positive attitude, even when he was unexpectedly assigned to tinker to work on my beloved AWACS and hopefully not canceled Wedgetail. Jerry is a space operator who is looking forward to returning to a workspace with less daylight and more energy drinks. He was a resounding winner of the class mustache competition, although I heard Spades file the formal protest. Matt was one of our space operators who left space operations to come to test pilot school, only to be sent back to space operations. She's a fierce advocate for test safety, once claiming to actually be safety during our persuasion course. When she wasn't advocating for safety, she could usually be found at the gym. Satan is an FTE who claims to be the first program manager with a chemistry degree to graduate from TPS. He also has a promising career ahead of him as an actor if he wants it. During that same persuasion course, he channeled his inner Texan and broke into a completely unnecessary and exaggerated Southern accent while role-playing as the SPO. That acting ability really helps during TPS, as much of the year we are just pretending to know what we are talking about and hoping the instructors don't call us on it. ICE was the unofficial space test SRO who always kept me informed about the goings-on in the space test course. He arrived at TPS as a prototypical Minnesota nice professional, once being described by another classmate as having come straight off the line at the FGO factory. However, the stresses of TPS got to him. In mid-year, he had a bit of a Breaking Bad moment, shaving his head completely bald. But he was still a nice guy. After was a B-52 pilot who went to TPS because he loves airplanes and maybe also to escape his exec job in Minot Air Force Base. He will be best remembered for the stark contrast between his normal relaxed attitude and his panicked rants before the many stressful TPS graded events. Chief is another B-52 pilot who helped me out by telling me everything about TPS that I was supposed to know going in as the SRO. He was best known for his casual attitude towards those same major TPS graded events, which often annoyed after. Flops is our Navy F-18 pilot who spent much of the year patiently explaining why Navy pilots don't flare at landing. He was always eager to explain boats and why we need them. He also enjoyed laughing at the rest of us during our early morning uniform inspections. Croc was our most nonchalant engineer, who was usually the guy who didn't read my Slack messages about important deadlines and events. During TPS, he was forced to lead several high-profile projects, which often frustrated the more high-strung members of his group. But somehow things always got done. Juice was the youngest person in our class. Despite his youth, he persevered through the grueling space test curriculum and even fought through an alcohol allergy to become the class bartender at roll call. I'm told he has a quest to find the worst restaurant in every city he visits. Slender is one of our government civilians in the space test course who works for a 3-letter agency in Washington, D.C. Early on, many of us were suspicious that he was placed in our class to spy on us, but he eventually gained our trust after he watched his year-long struggle to get reimbursed for his move to Edwards. Tug was our other government civilian in the space test course who previously worked at a space program office. I'm told he often took offense to all the SPO bashing during our case studies, but he was never able to offer any compelling counterarguments. Curiously, he was also annoyed every time STC was forced to listen to airplane stuff at TPS, yet he also desperately wanted to fly in airplanes at TPS. Lightning, sometimes also known as Thunder, is the founding member and leader of a little-known TPS fringe group made up of the RPA pilot, the CISO, and the ABM. When he wasn't he will be forever known for completing TPS without completing his CF phase. Bond is an F-16 maintainer who, through outstanding performance and dedication, managed to get accepted to and pass the space test course. Very impressive. When he wasn't asking himself, how did I get here? He often regaled the class with wild stories from his maintenance past. Jasm is a C-17 pilot and is really the ideal TPS student, so much so that he was featured in a TPS promotional video even before attending the school. During the course, he was by name requested for multiple social media engagements, but he graciously let Hobo have the opportunity. Hobo is an engineer who leadership simultaneously praised for his fiery attitude and mentored for his poor choice of TMP names. As our second most charismatic and least salty classmate, he was given the opportunity to represent TPS in a YouTube video after Jasm graciously declined. Monk had no prior space experience, but still excelled through space test course, proving that he can apply the same hard work and determination to academics as he does to his 20-mile hikes through the Sierra Nevada. Cobra is an FTE who was running major test exercises even before he was at TPS. He was sometimes frustrated with the insufficient common data links curriculum at TPS and would routinely jump in to help the instructors, whether solicited or not. Mouth is an FTE who once claimed he can see the RF spectrum. Despite humble beginnings in the construction business, he somehow managed to get to TPS and do all of the data analysis for every group he was ever assigned to, and was once lauded by another classmate for max performing his available brain cells. Skid was the ultimate TPS professional, even though he still doesn't know what he's doing for the next 12 months. At a minimum, I'm sure he'll continue to send plenty of feedback about space test course, which I guess he will now be sending to himself since he's on the staff. Milton is an FTE who always sacrificed for the class, whether it was procuring and personally safeguarding a high-end stapler for the class or running a free unlicensed car repair shop out of his garage. All right, we're getting there. Max is an AC-130 gunship pilot who, by virtue of his last name, also starting with S, sat next to me in the back of the homeroom. When he wasn't distracting me with his gunship stories and baseball watching, he would vigorously defend the mighty Herc to anyone who would listen. Solo is a B-52 Wizzo and another founding member of the TPS Misfit group, along with the RPA pilot and the ABM. Like me, he spent most of the year trying to figure out if he was going to be treated more like a pilot or an FTE in the absence of a published syllabus. We also like to compare techniques for how to not get airsick in fighter jets. Finally, Animal was our government civilian in this flight test course, who was secretly the MVP of the class. You heard his national anthem rendition, and even amid an unexpected job search, he tirelessly put together every mandatory social media post for 24 Bravo, made the class video you're about to see, and did most of the work on behalf of the class for this graduation. Of course, none of us would be here tonight without the hard work and mentorship from the TPS staff. I don't know if you picked up on it, but 24 Bravo may have been the oldest class in TPS history. And that sometimes, I'm ashamed to say, manifested itself as crankiness, especially when we had to push through nap time. However, the staff was always supremely patient with us and never stopped teaching. Whether it was early morning briefs, late night exam grading, or sacrificed weekends for study sessions and test report editing, the staff's dedication to 24 Bravo will never be forgotten. Most importantly, none of this would have been possible without the unwavering support of our families, friends, and mentors. Every one of you have in some way helped us get to this moment. On behalf of 24 Bravo, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your love, your patience, and your sacrifice. And with that, Animal, let's cue the class video.
Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to graduate Class 24 Bravo. Class 24 Bravo, please stand. Flight test course graduates, over the past 48 weeks, the faculty of the Test Pilot School tested these degree candidates and found that they have met all requirements for the Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering degree. It is my pleasure on behalf of the Air University Commander, by virtue of the authority invested in her by the Congress of the United States, to confer upon you the degree of Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering with all the rights, honors, privileges, and responsibilities here and everywhere pertaining to this degree. Space test course graduates. Over the past 48 weeks, the faculty of the Test Pilot School have tested these certificate candidates and found that they have met all requirements for the graduate certificate in Space Test Engineering. It is my pleasure, on behalf of the Air University Commander, by virtue of the authority vested in her by the Congress of the United States, to confer upon you the graduate certificate in Space Test Engineering. '24 Bravo graduates, please be seated. Major General Kane, would you please join me on stage for the presentation of the graduate plaques and the round medal objects? Graduates, as your name is called, please come to the stage to receive your graduate plaque and RMO.
Major Theodore Abe Adams, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Abe is assigned to the 40th Flight Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will test the F-16. Captain Connor Spock Beerling, Experimental Test Pilot, Air National Guard. Spock is assigned to the 461st Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-35. Captain Matthew Gopher Claffey, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Gopher is assigned to the 411th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-22. Major Austin Roch Crockett, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Roch is assigned to Data Mask. Captain Michael Spades Crump, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Spades is assigned to the 96 Operations Group, Detachment 2 at Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, where he will test the E-3 Airborne Warning and Control System and E-7 Wedgetail. Captain Aaron Matt Damon, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Space Force. Matt is assigned to the 3rd Space Operations Squadron at Schriever Space Force Base, Colorado, where she will lead the unit's tactics development program. Major Leah Dover, Experimental Test Engineer, Israeli Air Force. He is assigned within 5601 Squadron Flight Test Center at Tel Naf Israel Air Force Base, where he will test F-15 and F-16. Captain Jeremy Satan Ellsworth, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Satan is assigned to the 411th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-22. Major Brian Ice Erickson, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Space Force. ICE is assigned to the National Reconnaissance Office in Chantilly, Virginia, where he will direct systems-level geospatial intelligence testing. Captain Jacob After Gill, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. After is assigned to the 419th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the B-52H. Captain Cameron Hobo Greer, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Hobo is assigned to Data Masked. Lieutenant Christopher Flops Hamilton, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Navy. Flops is assigned to Air Test and Evaluation Squadron 31 in Ridgecrest, California, where he will test the world's premier strike fighter, the FA-18 Super Hornet. Captain Grayson Croc Harbor, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Croc is assigned to the 417th Flight Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will work development and testing of Air Force Special Operations Command fixed-wing platforms. Lieutenant Benjamin Juice Ho, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Juice is assigned to the 1st Test and Evaluation Squadron, Detachment 1, at Vandenberg Space Force Base, California, where he will test command and control systems for Space Operations Command. Captain Joshua Jerry Lewis, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Space Force. Jerry is assigned to the 3rd Test and Evaluation Squadron in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where he will be testing future orbital warfare mission areas for the Space Force. Mr. Brian Slender Mann, Experimental Test Engineer, National Reconnaissance Office. Slender is assigned to the National Reconnaissance Office in Chantilly, Virginia, where he will support the Survivability Assurance Office. Mr. Lucas Tug McClellan, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Space Force. Tug is assigned to the 4th Test and Evaluation Squadron at Peterson Space Force Base, Colorado, a squadron responsible for testing military satellite comms, global positioning system, and electromagnetic warfare capabilities. Captain Ernest Lightning McQuaid, Experimental Test RPA Pilot, United States Air Force. Lightning is assigned to the 452nd Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California. Staff Sergeant James Bond Mejia, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Bond is assigned to the 1st Test and Evaluation Squadron, Detachment 1 at Vandenberg Space Force Base, California, where he will test command and control systems for Space Operations Command. Major Chet Jasm Miller, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. JASM is assigned to the 418th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California. Captain Connor Monk Paw, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Space Force. Monk is assigned to the 4th Test and Evaluation Squadron at Peterson Space Force Base, Colorado, a squadron responsible for testing military satellite, communications, global positioning systems, and electromagnetic warfare capabilities. Mr. Keith Animal Peskoski, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Animal is assigned to the 780th Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will test current and future weapons for the Department of Defense. Captain Bradley Cobra Radabaugh, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Cobra is assigned to Data Mask. Captain Matthew Mouth Refrano, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Mouth is assigned to Data Mask. Captain Brendan Skid Rucklin, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Space Force. Skid is assigned to the United States Air Force Test Pilot School as an instructor for the space test course. Captain Aaron Milton Runnels, Experimental Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Milton is assigned to the 419th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will work on improving bomber capabilities. Major Tyson Chief Rideout, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Chief is assigned to the 419th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the B-52J. Captain Maximiliano Max Salinas, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Max is assigned to the 417th Flight Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will work development and testing of Air Force Special Operations Command fixed-wing platforms. Captain Derek Solo Vincent, Experimental Test Combat Systems Officer, United States Air Force. Solo is assigned to the 419th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will work on improving bomber capabilities. Captain Dimitrios Django Vlachos, Experimental Test Pilot, Hellenic Air Force. Django is assigned to the 117th Combat Wing, Andravida Air Force Base, Hellas, Greece, where he will test the F-16. Major Caleb Ape Whitlock, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Ape is assigned to the 411th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-22. Major Charles Pinch Wilson, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Pinch is assigned to the 418th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, to work on the Survivable Airborne Operations Center, more commonly known as the Night Watch. Major Jesse Snooky Snook, Experimental Test Air Battle Manager, United States Air Force. Snooky is assigned to the 45th Test and Evaluation Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will test the Department of the Air Force Battle Network. Major General Kane, thank you. Colonel Valpiani, the stage is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the graduating class and the TPS staff, I would like to thank you for sharing this very special day with us. Please join me in one final round of applause for our newest group of test leaders. Class 24 Bravo, you are dismissed.